Hello, I'm Matthew Malcolm with Pacific Nut Producer Magazine, reporting to you here today from Oregon, the hazelnut capital of the nation. I'm here with Matt Schuster from Chapin Orchards. Talking to a number of growers here, there's been greater interest. We're seeing an increased practice of orchard shredding, in-orchard shredding, and incorporation back into the soil. There's obviously a lot of pruning that needs to be done, particularly with our blight-infested orchards. So whether you're shredding mechanically pruned or physically pruned branches, this is a practice that you guys have incorporated right on the farm. Can you tell us about your experience and thoughts, if this is something you would recommend to other growers?
Sure. So in the past, we've been shredding probably for about 6 years now. In the past, we've been typically pruning the dead or the infected limbs out, or mechanically pruning and then pushing out and burning. But about 6 years ago, we got caught with a really wet spring and we couldn't get to the process of pushing it out. So we found a shredder that came through and they shredded all the brush, and it turned out great.
And that's never looked back since, huh?
Never looked back since, no. All of our employees loved it, and it was easier on their equipment, and it just got rid of the material very quickly. The orchard floor didn't get all torn up or anything like that, and we were able to see the benefits of also incorporating that material back into the field as well.
So what kind of benefits are you seeing? Obviously, we're putting this into the soil, hopefully increases fertility and the overall soil health, right?
Correct. Some of the big benefits we saw is, one, we're able to get into the fields a lot faster, especially in the spring when it's wet. You get that material on there that you can drive on as well, so it's not rutting up the field. Another benefit of it was, over time, what we saw was a lot more worm activity in the fields. They would just start pulling the material back into the ground. You know, we have to go through, after we shredded it, have to go in and flail it even finer so you get smaller material. But that quickly kind of disappeared over the course of the season. Another thing that we've seen, didn't see it initially, just because you're adding a lot more carbon back into the soil early on. It takes a little bit of time for that material to break down. So you have a little bit of a nitrogen sink early up, so you have to maybe add a little bit more nitrogen in the first year or two. But as that material begins to be broken down, it's releasing more nutrients back into the soil, which is available for the plant. And a couple years ago, when the price of hazelnuts dropped significantly, we started looking at our fertilizer bill and what we could cut back. We were also comparing that to our soil samples and our leaf analysis, and we kind of realized we really didn't need to put on as much potassium as we had in the past, because some of that material was finally breaking down enough and releasing that material back into the field. So we were able to reduce our fertilizer bill just with the less fertilizer application, but we didn't see any impact on yields or the nutrient tests and soil tests coming back the next season.
It sounds like a win-win situation. As far as the shredding, you said you got to do the shredding, so you've got to have the equipment for that, right? What would you guys go with?
We usually contract that out, so there's people that have had the bigger machinery that can chop it down finely. But once that material is broken down, then we come back in with some specialized flails with heavy hammer knives, and then we'll come back in and flail it maybe once, twice, which gets down to even finer material as well.
And I'm wondering, having all these wood chips, in the soil, does that maybe help with a little ground cover for weed suppression?
Not so much weed suppression. I mean, it depends how thick the material is. But one thing we have seen is moisture retention. Get back in the summertime. A couple years ago, we had a bad ice storm here, and it caused a lot of limbs to fall, a lot of pruning, a lot of shredding, but it also got really late into the season before we could get back in with the flails to grind everything down. Well, in June we had a heat dome come through, which was 115 degrees, which put a lot of stress on, but in the fields we hadn't got to yet, the material that was still, the mulch material that was still there, you kick it back, there was still moisture, wet soil on the ground, which really helped the trees survive that real stressful condition. So it does help with the moisture retention. At least we believe on our farm.
Well, it sounds like you guys have had a lot of positive experiences with this practice, so it looks like it's here to stay for you guys and maybe some other growers interested in doing the same. So thank you for being among the first to just go ahead and get started and see how it works. Appreciate that. Read more about these things in Pacific Nut Producer Magazine. I'm Matthew Malcolm, PacificNutProducer.com.